One of the great locations for baseball in the big leagues, Coors Field, the Rockies home, and they're home for the next 9 ball games. As tonight they open up a 3-game set against the Florida Marlins, a team they have not seen since pretty early on in the season. Welcome upstairs, everybody. Glad as always that you're along with Jeff Houston. I'm Drew Goodman. Well, the Rockies and Marlins got off to fabulous April starts, and since then, unfortunately, both of these clubs have kind of mirrored each other.
Yeah, that's not a good mirror you want to look into, because that's exactly what's happened with these two ball clubs. In fact, the Florida Marlins, it got so bad for them that they had to, their manager resigned. They brought in Jack McKeon, 81 years old, to try to revive things a little bit. And the Rockies, after that fabulous start, have kind of been up and down and still trying to sort things out. So it's not a good place to be, but it is a big league ballpark.
It is a big league ballpark, and that is always a good place to be in. Well, for the Florida Marlins, they're building around a couple of guys in the middle. Hanley Ramirez is hurt right now. That guy you can't miss. He looks like an NFL tight end when you walk into the ballpark. He's listed at 6'5", 248. I think he's bigger than that. He's only 21.
That is the shocking thing about Mike Stanton and the numbers he's put up. Over 45 home runs in his career, about 48 home runs. And he leads their ball club right now in home runs and RBIs. And you look at him, and he looks like a big NFL tight end, but he's so graceful out on the field because he can do so many different things. He can go get the ball in the gap. He's got a strong arm, can play good defense. And just talking to Eduardo Perez, their new hitting coach, and he was just raving about this guy today. And we've seen him, but he just says each and every day he just gets better and better and better.
He's got a small waist. He's an extremely athletic guy. And by the way, he won't be 22 until November 8th.
That's not fair.
No, it's not fair. And he is super talented. He's fun to watch. When we come back, great news. Look who is in the Rockies clubhouse. Juan Nicasio today.
in Denver at Coors Field. We are getting you set for game one of a three-game set between the Florida Marlins and the Colorado Rockies. But first, here was the scene earlier today. What a wonderful sight it was. Rockies pitcher Juan Nicasio, who was hit in the head by a line drive back on Friday, August 5th, walked into the clubhouse today with a brace on his neck and said hello to his teammates. What a wonderful, absolutely wonderful sight to see. Welcome down field level here at Coors Field, everybody. I'm Alana Rizzo. An incredible picture today in the Rockies clubhouse as Juan Nicasio made his way in. We heard from his teammates earlier today about how great it was to see him. Here's what his skipper had to say.
Can't begin to tell you how warm it is in that clubhouse. Seeing Juan Nicasio walking around there, spending some time and engaging himself with his teammates and things like that. You know, this guy is some kind of tough, I got to tell you.
No question about it, how tough he is, and it's baby steps for Juan Nicasio, as you might imagine. Today he met with his teammates. Tomorrow the Colorado Rockies organization has set it up so he will address the media before the ball game. Great to see him. We can't wait to have him back. He said he'd be back in the bullpen in 2 weeks. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's great to see him back with this club. Coming up, we're getting ready for the Fish and the Rockies. Baseball is next. Stay with us.
Colorado Rockies baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By the Ford Edge, class-defining style, revolutionary technology. Ford Edge, drive one. By Quest. Quest is becoming CenturyLink. Your link begins here. Find out more at CenturyLink.com. By Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut's $10 any deal is back. Get any pizza, any size, any toppings for just $10 when you carry out. And by Southwest Airlines, new Rapid Rewards, unlimited reward seats, and no blackout dates. Pretty Colorado evening. There's Kevin Millwood making his second start for the Rockies and his first as a member of the Rockies at Coors Field. And he did a very nice job in his first outing in Cincinnati, albeit it was a loss, but he went 7 innings, allowed just 5 hits, 3 solo home runs in a 3-2 defeat. There's Emilio Bonifacio, one of the fastest men in baseball. He's having a pretty good second half. He's got the average up to 285. More on him in a little bit. Here's Jack McKeon, Southwest.com, starting lineup. He'll have Brian Peterson, a young player at left field, batting second. Mike Stanton, who we chatted about, will bat third. Greg Dobbs, typically just a pinch hitter, has had to start a lot this year, and he's responded. He's leading the club, in fact, at 294. Gabby Sanchez, their lone all-star. John Bucket hit the long ball. Dwayne Wise. Alfredo Meza goes with the Rockies earlier this year. And Clay Hensley on the hill.
We're talking about Kevin Millward and his outing against Cincinnati. All time, Kevin ranks 8th, tied for 8th with 159 wins, 407 starts in his career here at Coors Field in 7 games, 3-2 with a 3.97 ERA. So it's not like he's a stranger to that mound out there. And what he did so effectively in that game against Cincinnati is he pitched to both sides of the plate, and he also pitched up and down. You don't get as many wins as he does have in his career without knowing how to pitch just a little bit.
So Kevin Millward is ready to go. He'll be throwing to Eliezer Alfonso for the first time. He threw to Chris Iannetta in that ball game in Cincinnati. Rockies in the midst of playing 20 games in 20 days. They're at the tail end of it. They're 7-10 so far during that stretch. After the series against the Marlins, they'll get a much-needed break on Thursday.
Yeah, and that's part of the collective bargaining agreement. You cannot play more than 20 straight days without having a day off.
Or getting a waiver from the players if there's a rain out
or something like that.
Well, Bonifacio has learned quite a few things from Jack McKeon since McKeon took over. And one of those is to be more patient. And he told him, he said, listen, I want you, if it's 3-1, I want you to take his strikes. And he said, you're probably going to strike out more. He said, that's on me. He said, but you're going to walk more also.
What was interesting is right after he exchanged lineup cards, Jack McKeon at home plate, as he was walking away, Bonifacio was on the on-deck circle. And he was just kneeling, Bonifacio was. And McKeon came up, put his arm around him, and chatted up with him for about a minute before he walked back into the dugout. And I'm sure that's what he was telling him.
Fastball's fouled off, 2-2.
Just kind of patting him on the head and patting him on the back, much like you would a grandpa figure.
You know, we normally say the cliche is he's a fatherly figure. Well, he's a grandfatherly figure. I mean, he's 80 years old. And Jack McKeon has the energy of a guy half his age. He's still a joy to visit with and talk baseball. He's been in the game, folks, 62 years. Strike 3 on Bonifacio. Little cut fastball, and that's out number 1. EY, Dex, and Cargo in the outfield. Chris Nelson, Troy Tulowitzki on the left side. Johnny Herrera getting the start at second. Jason Giambi for Todd Helton at first. And again, Alfonso doing the catching. Stepping up will be Brian Peterson. And that touches the outside corner. Strike 1 on Peterson. 88 degrees our game time temperature. Peterson was tearing it up in New Orleans with the Zephyrs. You know, the Zephyrs used to be here in Denver.
Yeah, they just kept the name but moved him to New Orleans, and he was leading their ball club with a .351 batting average in 67 ball games.
And also showing some pop. He had 11 home runs to lead the club down there in those 67 games, and he hits this high in the air to deep right field, and this one is off the wall. And now Cargo's got to play chase, and Peterson running the whole way will have a stand-up triple. That's the first triple for Peterson.
Off the bat, I wasn't sure, just watching Cargo, where that ball was going to go. Was it going to go out? He thought he was going to have an opportunity to catch it. A ball that was up and away from Peterson, got the lift on it. Carlos goes back to the wall, and he gets about 3 feet from it and realizes, I can't get that. I got to get back off there. But it catches that metal and just shoots back towards the infield.
Yeah, that's one of those tweeners, Jeff, where you described it so accurately. off the bat, he's thinking I may be able to leap and have a play.
But then you come to that no man's land. Can I turn back and still get in a position to cut it to a double? Or is it going to roll too far? And it rolled too far, and he's at third base now.
Mike Stanton swung through the first pitch. 0-1 on Stanton. 22 home runs in 100 games last year as a 20-year-old. He's blown past that this year in his sophomore campaign. Kid from Southern California, ridiculously gifted, and he wasn't one of those, you know, baseball players that was at all the showcases. He was a second-round pick out of high school, but great football player, great basketball player also.
Well, and that's why part of the reason why he slipped down to the second round did Stanton, because they weren't sure what he was going to do, so they didn't want to spend a first-round pick on him. But when he was still sitting there at the second round, hey, let's take a flyer on this guy.
Nice job.
Yeah, nice flyer.
One out, a runner at third. A 1-2 count on big Mike Stanton. Well, he had a home run yesterday to give Florida an early lead. It came in the first inning. Hit it out in center field. And, I mean, when he hits them, they go a long, long, long way. He hit a couple of balls up on the concourse during batting practice today. One he hit up there was left center. He just hit one out. That one's not going to reach the concourse. Maybe on a couple of hops it will. And it just did. And that's the center field. That thing was hit about 450. A 2-run home run from Mike Stanton, his 27th of the year. Just ridiculous leverage.
Because he's 6'5", 250 pounds, long arm, stands off the plate and looks for the ball away. Watch Kevin Millwood. As soon as he hits that, he just puts his head down because he knows he left a slider at 82 miles an hour right over the heart of the plate, and Stanton did what you're supposed to do to a hanging slider. And it was a one-hopper onto the concourse in center field.
That's one of the longest home runs we've seen hit there, or hit here this year. You don't see balls go to the concourse where he hit that. 0-1 on Greg Dobbs, a 2-0 early lead for Florida. This ball's well hit left center field. Dexter got it. What a play. What a play by Dexter Fowler. One of just a handful of center fielders in the game, I think, that runs that one down.
And you just have to continually ask yourself, how many runs does this guy save out in center field by being able to track balls down, and the jump that he gets on the baseball helps that you're 6'5". You can reach out, use that 12-inch glove or 13-inch, whatever, however long it is, and snag it and still have some room to spare.
There are times that, you know, Dex can use those long strides, glide to the baseball. He was full out there. Two outs, Gabby Sanchez at the plate. So a triple off the middle of the right field scoreboard. A long home run from Mike Stanton, and then a 415-foot out. Kevin Millwood needs to work down in the zone.
Yeah, right now too many of the pitches are up in the zone, whether it's the slider or the fastball. Not down at the knees.
1-2 on Gabby Sanchez. Mike Stanton has the third highest home run per at bat ratio in the National League. Only Berkman and Pujols are better. It's fouled off by Sanchez. Rockies went 3-4 on their recently completed trip, and because they played on national television last night on ESPN, they didn't get back till well after 1 this morning. So batting practice on the field this afternoon was optional. You see guys hitting the cage. It's a line drive to short. Tulowitzki has it. So the Marlins were very good out on the road. Get a quick start. Mike Stanton, a 2-run home run. As he did yesterday in the first inning, he gave the Marlins a lead, and he's given the Marlins a 2-0 lead here at the end of one half inning. Eric Young Jr., he'll lead things off for the Rockies, and the Southwest Airlines batting order for Jim Tracy will feature Dexter Fowler next. He, for the most part, had yesterday off. He pinch hit very late in the ballgame. Cargo will bat third, Troy Tulowitzki fourth, Jason Giambi getting his first start since coming off the disabled list. In fact, he'll get his first at bat since coming off the DL. Then Eliezer Alfonso, Chris Nelson, Johnny Herrera's at second, and then Kevin Millwood.
And they're all going to be facing Clay Hensley. A lot of people remember him for the San Diego Padres. In his last 4 outings, he's 0-2 with a 6.30 ERA. But what's really interesting about him is his numbers here at Coors Field in 10 career ball games, 2-1 with a 2.27 ERA.
Yeah, and that's with more than 30 innings of work. But Clay Hensley has always pitched well at 20th and Blake. Usually has a lot of family around. He's got some extended family that live on the western slope in the Grand Junction area, so they're usually a pretty good tailgate after and before for the Hensley clan. Good guy, and he's a guy that's worked a lot out of the bullpen this year, and because of so many injuries to the Marlins rotation, he's now been inserted into it. He faced the Rockies back on April 24th. In 2/3 of an inning, he gave up a couple of runs on 3 hits.
Well, he's not overpowering, and the fastball is, if he's lucky, about 89 miles an hour. But we'll see a lot tonight at 86, 88. Curveball, which we just saw, but his changeup. That's what neutralizes left-handed hitters, because lefty's just hitting 187 against him.
Yeah, he's a gamer. I saw that breaking ball well. That levels the count at 2-2.
And this is a guy you can't get overly aggressive against. You have to think the opposite way, up the middle. If you start thinking I'm going to yank a home run, you're going to get a lot of rollover ground balls, easy pop-ups.
Back up the middle, but Hensley is a good athlete, fields his position, and that's the first out. Here's Hensley as a starter against the Rockies, and in this ballpark he's fared well. Overall, he's got a 4-2 record with a 4.53 ERA. So one of the losses came working out of the bullpen. Jeff was describing, you know, the walks and strikeouts. Not going to strike out a lot of guys. It's 1-1.
No, but he'll work down into the zone. He'll throw it to both sides of the plate. He'll make sure that he keeps you off balance enough just with that fastball to keep you honest, but he wants to try to get you out with the changeup or the curveball.
Ball and a strike on Dex, who hit 320 out on the road trip. Over his last 26 games, he's hitting 350, 35 for his last 100 at the plate, which includes 5 doubles and 6 triples. And that is foul. Just getting ready to say that could be in triple territory. When the Rockies score 7 runs or more in any game, you know where to go the next day between 4 and 6. Head to Taco Bell in the state and get your Rockies Taco Special. Guys are munching on something good. Well, the Rockies' amazing stretch of futility on Sundays continued last night in a ball game where they had a lot of hits and a lot of opportunities. They just didn't score. Other than the first inning, they lost 6-2 to the Cardinals. 17 straight losses on Sundays, which is a modern baseball record. Fowler's gone.
It's hard to fathom.
It really is. I don't know what to say about that. It's just mind-boggling. Defensively, it's Brian Peterson, Dwayne Wise, and Mike Stanton in the outfield. Emilio Bonifacio's in there at shortstop for Hanley Ramirez, who's on the disabled list. And Bonifacio's a really good defender at a number of positions, but for whatever reason, when he's been at shortstop, the club is just 5 and 25.
I think that has more to do with missing Hanley's offense than it does Bonifacio's defense, because they're averaging over a run less a ball game without Hanley Ramirez in the lineup.
Want to know on Carlos Gonzalez, who hit 3 home runs on the road trip. Didn't hit for a super high average, 222, but he hit 3 and drove in 7. He had a double in the first inning last night, scored on a Tulo hit.
A home run the night before, 3-run shot.
Got a pitch up to Hackett. I think he's still getting his timing down, being on the disabled list.
Well, I would agree with that. That's something that's ongoing throughout the whole year, even if you're not hurt. But then factor in being hurt, missing some time, going down for a couple rehab games, and then coming back and facing major league pitching.
He went away with the heater, and it's 2-2. Gonzalez in that series down in South Florida went 0 for 9, so he has not had a hit against the Marlins this year, and just 185 in his career in 15 ball games. Here's the 2-2. And Clay Hensley with that changeup strikes out Gonzalez. A 1-2-3 beginning for Hensley, 2-0 Fish. Stanton, a long home run in the first inning with a man aboard. Second start for Kevin Millwood. In his first start in Cincinnati, he pitched plenty well enough to get a win.
Yeah, the problem was that the Rockies only scored 2 runs for him. And those 3 runs that he gave up were all the courtesy of a solo shots. And not bad for a guy that was driving to go home and just visit some family and made a U-turn at the airport and hopped on a plane to get to Cincinnati.
Yeah, pretty wild story. John Buck's at the plate, a 1-0 count on the Florida catcher, an all-star last year with Toronto. Signed a 3-year deal in the offseason.
Buck's faced Kevin Millwood quite a bit recently because of Kevin's stint in the American League. Buck, as you mentioned, in Toronto, in .348 in his career.
Two balls and a strike on Buck. And a ground ball to second. Herrera throws out John Buck. Here's the home run again by Mike Stanton. He got a slider from Kevin Millwood. I want you to watch carefully where this thing lands. That was measured, and they have a grid out there. So when I say out there, it's all computerized. That ball traveled 472 feet. It is the 3rd longest home run in the big leagues this year. We shorted it about 20 feet. We thought it was 450 or so.
Yeah, 472, did you say?
472.
Unbelievable strength. First of all, to be able to hit it that far. Was you 3rd longest in the major leagues this year? And Albert hit one last night pretty far too, 465.
Well, one of our colleagues on the Marlins side, who had a terrific big league career in his own right, Tommy Hutton, came by and he said, was that farther than Albert's last night? And we didn't know at the time how far it was. Evidently it was. 1-2 on Dwayne Wise. He came back to the big leagues when Chris Coghlan went down with an injury. And a line drive to left for a base hit. Eric Young will get in front of it. 1 out, 1 on for Alfredo Amezaga. If your windshield needs fixing, call Safelite Auto Glass at 303-287-5000 or go to safelight.com. Well, the Rockies did a nice thing for Alfredo Amezaga in that he was up with the club for about 20 ball games earlier this year. He was doing a really nice job in Colorado Springs, and with all of the injuries, Florida called. He had been with Florida in the past for several seasons. Said, hey, we need Amezaga in the big leagues. So the Rockies traded Alfredo to Florida for a AAA player right now, playing with the Rockies. Gave Alfredo a chance to get back to the big leagues.
Well, and that's what the right thing to do. That's what you have to do if he's not going to be on your big league club. If he has the opportunity to go play in the major leagues with somebody else, that's great. Bob Gephardt did that for me. And I'll always remember that. When I went to spring training with the Rockies, didn't make the club, was down in Colorado Springs for about 15 games. And Milwaukee Brewers had some injuries. They needed a player, so Bob traded me. He gave his word, said he'd do it. Still remember to this day.
That was the year you were tutoring Helton, right?
No, more like he was tutoring me. Nephi Perez, Craig Counsell, all those guys were, still tutoring me.
Counsell ended that horrendous run, by the way.
I know.
Got a
0
couple
for
hits.
45.
Pitch out, and out at second base is Wise. Cut down by Eliezer Alfonso.
4 for 10 for Alfonso behind the plate. Tommy Reynolds right on top of things with calling the pitch out. And then the tag from Troy to sweep back and get Dwayne Wise as he slides to the outside part of the bag.
2-1 count with 2 outs on a Mezziga. And he hits this ball to center field pretty well. A little better than Dexter thought initially, but he tracks it down. We'll go to the bottom of the second. The Marlins up 2-0.
Marlins with a 2-0 lead over the Rockies as we make our way to the bottom of the second inning. Gabby Sanchez is manning first base for the Colorado Marlins, and he has extensively worked with Perry Hill, their first base coach. 17 years in the majors, 26 years overall for Hill. I talked to Gabby earlier today about what Perry Hill has done for him in terms of defending the first base position. He has really cut down on the errors that he's had from last year to this year. He said, well, certainly catching ground balls and really working on my foot positioning, but more than anything, he has opened my eyes to really watching the ball and allowing the ball to dictate whether or not I should go for the double play. And Huey, I want to bring you in to talk about this. You obviously a middle infielder the majority of your career, but involved in a lot of double plays. First of all, Jeff Houston, happy birthday, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
And also, if you can comment on what Gabby's talking about.
Well, first of all, I had the pleasure of having Perry Hill as a coach when I was with the Texas Rangers, and he is the best in baseball as far as infield, hands down. I mean, as far as the guys I've been around. And I understand what Gabby Sanchez is saying because he works with positioning, your footwork, turning double plays, knowing when you can make that throw and when you just get that out because it's so important. But Perry just breaks down. We talk about the science of hitting. Well, Perry breaks it down into the science of fielding.
Well, you've always raved about him ever since you and I first met. By the way, partner, happy birthday.
Thank you.
And you know what today means to me.
I'm a year older than you.
Once again, you've moved ahead of me.
That's the only reason you like today, isn't it?
No, I'm always thrilled to celebrate your birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
You know what? This is a great place to celebrate it. At a ballpark?
It is. You know, maybe Barb will bring you some strawberry shortcake. 2-1 on Tulowitzki, and that's a base hit up the middle.
Well, Emilio Bonifacio must have seen something different. He must have thought it was going to be a pitch that Troy was going to pull because right as that ball was crossing home plate, he took 2 steps to his right. And about the area that he could have made the play, he had vacated it. That's why he's shaking his head. Now watch Bonifacio, right before this play takes place, a step and a half over. If he doesn't do that, he's got that play to his left maybe.
Jason Giambi, no swing. Well, infielders used to do that all the time, get an extra step toward.
You know, sometimes you're going to guess right, sometimes it's not going to happen. Maybe the pitch wasn't where he thought it was going to be. It was supposed to be inside and creep back over the middle part of the plate. You play the odds in your hunch.
There's a base hit for Giambi. Well, everybody who's followed the Rockies knows that when Jason starts, he's been a terror. All 10 of his home runs have come as a starter.
And all but 3 of his RBIs have been as a starter as well. And for a guy that didn't start in the St. Louis series, his last at bat was down in Colorado Springs. He comes through again with another base hit.
Jim Tracy, we've noticed with the Rockies having to shuttle in different guys in their lineup. When he plays Eliezer Alfonso, in the past this year for the Rockies, the catcher's always hit the 8-hole. Chris Iannetta's hit 8th almost 100% of the time in the high 90s. And the guys that have backed him up have typically hit in the 8th spot. With Alfonso, he has put him in an RBI spot on a good number of occasions.
He hit 4th the other day in the game in Cincinnati. Tonight he's hitting 6th. He's hit 7th.
He had a 5 RBI ball game in San Diego that was highlighted by a grand slam.
He has an idea of what he's doing at the plate. He's been around a long time, has the major league experience, but also as a catcher, when you have that feel as a manager that the guy's going to put the ball in play.
This ball is lined right at Peterson. 1 out, and that'll bring up Chris Nelson. Rockies last night, 10 hits, 2 extra base hits, but just 2 runs. They failed miserably with runners in scoring position again. Really had a chance to either catch St. Louis in the middle late innings or perhaps go ahead, particularly that 7th inning when they loaded the bases with 1 out.
And then a couple strikeouts, 1 by Troy and 1 by Todd.
The Rockies on that trip 7 for 44, 159 average with runners in scoring position. They're 0 for 1 tonight, and Nelson takes a strike.
If you're traveling, you can subscribe to MLB.tv to see every Rockies game on your computer and favorite devices. Visit ColoradoRockies.com to order yours today.
This is a ground ball through the right side. Tulowitzki will stop at third as Stanton is playing shallow, got to the baseball quickly, and he has a great arm. So the bases are loaded for Johnny Herrera.
Well, you're just taking a chance and running yourself out of an inning if you try to run on Mike Stanton, where this ball was hit. Wasn't hit all that hard, but got by Gabby Sanchez and into right field, but Mike Stanton charges hard. Troy was barely getting to third base when he made that throw. He would have been out by about 30, 40 feet.
Great to see Richie Dower back on the field. Richie, I'm sure most of you saw the highlight. It's not a highlight, it's a low light. During batting practice yesterday in St. Louis, a miscommunication and a throw from Johnny Herrera hit him in the face. This is a ground ball to first. There's one on the first, not in time. So the Rockies get a run as Johnny beat the return throw up the line. So it'll be first and third, 2 outs in a 2-1 ball game. Here's what happened to Richie yesterday. He broke his nose and his eye got bruised up badly. There was no injury to his eye, though. And again, throughout batting practice, you have fungos being hit, sometimes guys will be turning two. Sometimes they'll be throwing it all the way across to first, and sometimes they'll play the ball live. In other words, off the bat from one of the guys hitting in the cage. That's what happened. Richie didn't realize they were going to play that ball live and go to first, and he got hit, and it was scary. He did not get cleared to coach third tonight until about an hour before the ball game. Doctors wanted to check him out again.
We're just thankful he was cleared, because I've seen that happen before where it could really crush that orbital bone, and you have to end up having surgery and all this. And there still might be the possibility on his nose because it is broken, but just to see him back out on the field today is a welcome sight.
Richie had his typical sense of humor when we were visiting with him in the coach's locker room today. And he said he feels fine. He said, hey, I don't even have a headache. And again, as Jeff mentioned, and I mentioned, his nose was broken, but every other x-ray was negative. This is on the ground to short. Bonifacio will throw out Millwood. So the Rockies get a run. 3 singles, an RBI ground out from Johnny Herrera. 2-1 as we go to the third. And Alana Rizzo from Coors Field. Text Toyota followed by a space, and then your comments and questions to 720-720. We call it Toyota Talk. We do it every ball game, and we'll do it again in the 6th inning when the Marlins are up at bat. And this, of course, being your 39th birthday again, Huey.
Thank you.
What you got?
Well, I would like to see what's your favorite Rockies present you've received for your birthday.
That's a good one. I like that.
Was it a ball? Was it a jersey? Hat? Tickets?
It's a real good one. Clay Hensley's at the plate. He doesn't have a hit this year. Do you remember when Beanie Babies were really big?
Yes.
I remember walking. This is how dumb I am. I remember when
Okay, go start over.
I know you have that whole list that you have on page 2 of your scorebook. I remember coming into the All-Star game. We had done a big show prior to the '98 All-Star game just outside the ballpark, and I walked in with Steve Lyons, who was co-hosting the show, and they offer us Beanie Babies, because remember, it was huge right then, and this was the All-Star Beanie Baby. And I said, no thanks, I don't want one. So
you said no thanks.
I said no thanks.
They were going for like $125.
They were going for over $1,000.
Wait, you know what? I've still got 3 or 4 at home if you want to.
They're not big anymore. They're back to what they were at the $1.95. So anyhow, I'm sitting up there with Lyons. He goes, "You didn't get one?" I said, "No." He said, "Don't you know that? I mean, these things people are paying big dollars for them."
And we got ours when
No
we
idea.
came into the game.
Yeah, and then you quickly sold it on eBay, as I recall.
Nope, the kids wouldn't let me. Trying to make up for the tickets. But the All-Star game was a blast.
That was a lot of fun. That was an amazing couple of days. 3-2 on Hensley. Hensley taking a pretty good rip there. Kevin Millwood knows it. We talked about it in the first inning. That fastball's got to come down.
Too many tonight have been flat coming into the zone. No downhill plane. Alfonso's trying to give him the low target.
One out. AT&T trivia question on a Monday night. Only 3 active players have more strikeouts than Kevin Millwood's 1,946. Can you name them? Here's Emilio Bonifacio. He struck out looking on a fastball in his first time. Bonifacio is second in the National League with 30 infield hits.
He had 34 back in 2009. He also has 9 bunt base hits.
And that's why Chris Nelson at third is about 75 feet away. And
check that one.
Looked like he offered at it. I guess not. 2-0. And he's one of those guys, Huey, when you were playing some third base, it's one of those guys you got to stay there even with 1 strike.
Brett Butler, same way. He would do the same thing even with 1 strike. Wasn't afraid to work it down into the zone. That's pretty close. I thought he went.
I agree with you. I think he offered at 3-0.
Well, now let's see if Jack McKeon, what he was talking about with Bonifacio, see if he'll take the 2 strikes to get it back to 3-2.
There's 1.
Well, it's not like his swing is going to change between a 3-1 and a 3-2 because he's not a home run big power guy. He can take the same swing, so go ahead and wait till you get to 3-2.
He was taken there clearly. 3-2. Bonifacio fouls it off. And by the way, congratulations to Jack McKeon tonight, managing his 2,000th Major League Baseball game. And he's won more than half of them. 1,035 and 964 coming in. Managed his Marlins to a 2003 World Championship. That's off of Millwood. Nelson's got it. Not going to get it.
I've seen a lot of that lately. Saw it a couple days ago in Arizona. Jason Marquis. Ball right back up the middle, ended up breaking his leg.
Yeah, it weakened it evidently.
Yeah.
And then later on, when he made a pitch, he just collapsed. And that doctor said completed the fracture. Where does this get Millwood? Did he get him on the calf?
That looked like more right off the foot.
Yeah, okay.
The cleat.
Well, Keith Duggar started to go out. He's had to make too many trips to the field this year. But Millwood has waved him off. Bonifacio, 28 stolen bases, a 1-0 count on Brian Peterson. That's another area that Jack McKeon really helped out Bonifacio. He had only a handful of stolen bases before McKeon took over. And as the story goes, McKeon gave Joey Espada. There's a bunt. That's going to be a tough play to get Peterson. They're not going to get him either. First and second. To finish the Bonifacio story, he got the steal sign from Joey Espada 2 times in a row and didn't go in a ball game. And Jack McKeon got to the top step of the dugout, and it was just so the world can hear. And he yells, "Run, steal!" But he yelled at him, and so the next time he took off, and when the inning ended and he got back to the dugout, McKeon told him, kind of like with the strikeout thing, "I want you to take more pitches. If you strike out, it's on me." He said, "If I give you the steal sign, I want you to go. And if you get, I want you to go no matter what. If you get caught, it's on me."
That frees the player up to be aggressive and relax even more, because he knows that this is, the manager says I can do this. If it doesn't happen, he says he will take the heat for it. So I'm not going to, people aren't going to blame me.
2 on now for the big man, Mike Stanton. The big kid. 21-year-old Mike Stanton. He had a 472-foot home run in the first inning with a man aboard. 3rd longest in base this year. The only 2 longer. Prince Fielder hit one back on April 29th, 486 feet. Justin Upton on April 12th hit one 478 feet.
At least he didn't stand there and admire it like a lot of hitters will do now.
No, and he gets around the bases
Yeah,
quickly.
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, he's a very nice young man. We visited with him down in South Florida, and I assumed he was a tight end, recruited Southern Cal, by the way. And he said, you know, I think that's where they eventually maybe wanted me to place him, but actually in high school he was a wide receiver, defensive back.
Oh.
To give you an idea, you were talking about how good his hips were.
Yeah. But to be able to be a defensive back, change directions, wide receiver, cut on a dime, do all those things you need to do, and then also play baseball.
Two-strike count on Stanton. 2 on and 1 out, 2-1 Florida. One of the harder pitches we've seen Kevin Millwood throw in his first 2 starts. Hit 92 miles an hour.
And with a little cut on it.
Yeah. That finger pressure with the middle finger made that ball dive late. And he got him with a changeup up, and the throw to second. Not quite in time. Big strikeout there. Millwood fans, Mike Stanton with 2 on.
Well, they had gone inside. He fouled the pitch off, went away with the slider, and then able to get him up into the zone with the strikeout. And then the throw behind by Alfonso off his knees almost got Bonifacio napping out at second base. And Jonathan Herrera was able to be there because they were having to hold Bonifacio so close out at second, and Stanton's more of a pull hitter, so he didn't have to leave his position too much.
Greg Dobbs, deep drive left center field his first time up. That was tracked down by Dexter Fowler.
And Dexter's playing over into that gap, 2 steps from the opposite field gap.
Two and 0. Third time Dobbs has hit cleanup this year. McKeon took over, he first sat down Hanley Ramirez for being late to a meeting, and then he put his arm around him, loved him up some, and put him in that cleanup spot. Hanley kind of took off. He was swinging the bat much, much better under Jack McKeon, and then of course he got hurt.
Yeah, hurt his left shoulder. Eligible to come off the DL on Thursday. There's some talk that that probably is not going to happen. But with McKeon's resume, he can do that to a guy like Hanley Ramirez, who still has a few years left on his contract and is supposed to be the face of that franchise as they move into the new stadium next year.
Yeah. Well, speaking of distinguished resumes, 16 years of big league manager. He's been a general manager. As I said earlier, he's been in the game for 62 years. And he has some very interesting ideas on the game. We were chatting around the batting cage, and somehow we were talking about, you know, young players, the months that really lie to baseball executives, March and September.
Those are the two big keys.
Those are months, and that doesn't mean that a guy that does well in September or a guy that does well in March doesn't become a productive big leaguer. But a lot of times you bring a guy up in September and he gets a look-see, and some teams are looking at pitchers maybe that aren't big league quality. Look out, Johnny Herrera's going to call off Giambi, and that puts down the inning. But he mentioned the other month that really lies a lot oftentimes is April. More on that in a moment. 2-1 Florida. Tonight's Road Ahead is brought to you by E470. Find E470 on Facebook and Twitter for details on how to win free tolls. Marlins in for 3 ball games. Thursday is an off day. And then Friday, the Rockies open up a set against the Dodgers. Saturday, there won't be television. That ball game is in the national TV window Saturday afternoon. It was originally going to be a Fox national broadcast. They just recently took it off their schedule. So no television Saturday, Sunday afternoon. And then Houston comes in. Kevin Millwood and Eliezer Alfonso discussing how to work certain hitters. That's a bunt by EY. The throw to first, not going to get him. So Eric Young. I watched what transpired last inning with Florida's speed guys at the top of the lineup, and he lays down a bunt of his own. That's his 11th infield hit of the year.
When you're bunting from the left side, you want to try to catch it right off the end of the bat, really loosen your hands up, and that completely deadens the ball. So when Greg Dobbs came in to try to make this play, he was so off balance, and his momentum was going so much towards home that he couldn't make a good throw to first.
See if the Rockies take the complete page out of Florida's playbook.
Why not?
Go back to back with bunts, though. Again, we haven't seen Dexter do it as much as the club would like.
He worked on it a lot during spring training. Tried it early in the year. Did not have a whole lot of success.
There he is. He puts it down. It goes foul.
But the difference between Eric Young's bunt and then where Dexter tried to bunt that ball was more towards the meat part of the bat, a little closer towards the label, and it's going to hit harder than if it hits right off the end. And sometimes you go up there. Now, some guys don't like to use a cup bat, but if you go up there thinking I'm gonna bunt for a base hit, use a cup bat because it's not as thick at the end.
That's interesting. Would you always keep a couple? I mean, did you always use a cup bat, or you kept a couple?
Yeah, I pretty much used a cup bat, but I also had a few that were not at the end, depending on the type of pitcher. Maybe it was a sinker ball pitcher that I wanted to have a little bit more meat on the bat.
There was a period there, and you were playing during it, where cup bats were the rage.
Lighter on the end, you get better bat speed, a little whip through the zone.
Not so much now.
No, because it's more of a power game now.
EY takes off, and a foul ball. 1-2. Looking to save energy and money? Find out how the little changes add up at TogetherWeSave.com, your local Touchstone Energy Cooperative, delivering reliable power, energy-saving tools, and more. Another breathtaking sunset here in Lodo. EY not going, and John Buck keeps it around the neighborhood, so it's 2-2.
But even if you're not thinking about stealing a base, no matter whether you're an Eric Young or somebody else down into the lineup, you always have to anticipate with Clay Hensley out on the mound that there's going to be a lot of balls in the dirt where he's trying to get you to fish at those off-speed pitches. So on your secondary lead, if you see the catcher drop to his knees and has to move, go ahead and take off.
One of the things that you did also read the angle of the ball out of the hand.
You have to. As you're getting your secondary lead, you see where the ball's coming out of the hand. And we saw it the other night. Eric trying to peek in and steal the sign from the catcher. That's another way you can do it too. Even with the left-handed hitter up there, you think he might be blocked, but you could still every once in a while see maybe the forearm of the catcher when he puts down a changeup, where you'll see the muscles of the forearm ripple.
Center field and deep. Wise going back, and he's going to make the catch. Eric Young back to first base, and with one out, that'll bring up Gonzalez. Let's take a look at our Geico quote of the day. Todd Helton on the 17-game Sunday losing streak, which is a modern record for losing on Sunday. I wish I could make sense of it. I can't. It's crazy. Amazingly, the same team had lost 16 consecutive Sundays on 3 occasions. The Philadelphia Phillies, I think the most recent was 1960. The other 2 were a long time ago. 1926 and 1927. The Rockies have been outscored on Sundays during this stretch, 115-60.
A lot of that seems like they've been outscored early, so they're trying to play catch up the whole time. Happened yesterday, got 2 runs and then 4 by the Cardinals. Last night, you're down 2 runs.
Two 2-0 on Gonzalez. Cargo drives one high and deep right center field. Did he get it? No. Wise makes the catch about 420 feet from home plate. He just missed it, and it's just a long out.
Dwayne Wise has always been a guy that's known throughout his career as being a special defender, especially in center field. He's been put in games a lot of times late in the ball game just for this purpose, to be able to track down some balls that are hit in the gap, and probably none more, as we look at Carlos Gonzalez's reaction. Just missed it, but probably none more important for Dwayne Wise than what he did back on July 23rd, 2009, making the play in Mark Burley's perfect game out in center field.
Strike count on Tulowitzki. Troy hit .333 on the road trip, couple of home runs, drove in 4. He was 2 for 4 yesterday with an RBI. But he won't talk about the 2 hits. He'll talk about the strikeout. Yeah, swung through on the last one. Strung through a slider on a 2-strike offering with the bases loaded in the 7th inning. Two-strike count now. Tulowitzki developing a reputation for being a great second half player. Not that he's a bad first half player. He's just a great player, period. And some GMs, if they were taking a position player number 1, take anybody in the game, a lot of them would take Tulowitzki. But in the second half, he's got a career .322 average.
That's 61 home runs to go along with that .322 average.
You know who was saying the same thing I was just saying is Matt Holliday. The last couple of days in St. Louis, Matt and Troy are very close. And Matt said, you know, if you're starting a club right now and you can take one position player, he said, I think you probably go with Tulowitzki because of how he plays shortstop. Runner going, and a bobble by Buck. And EY's got another stolen base.
11 stolen bases now on the season for EY. After Hensley had thrown over a couple of times during this at bat, he just takes off as soon as he comes up. And the reason John Buck could not get the grip on it, 2 things. It was a ball that was down and away from him, but he also knew that he had to get rid of the ball in a hurry, and that's what caused him to fumble it.
Like his helmet.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Reminds me of a hockey goalie.
It is a hockey style mask.
This ball line, deep left field. Take a good look. You won't see it for long. Tulowitzki has done it again. And the Rockies have a 3-2 lead. Number 24.
Talked about the breaking pitch that Mike Stanton hit for a home run, and that's what you're supposed to do with it. Well, Troy answered a hanging breaking pitch at Clay Hensley's also. And that was just a slider that was left up, and Troy, as soon as he hit it, he knew it was gone.
Giambi. Takes a strike. 10 of Tulowitzki's 24 home runs have given the Rockies a lead. 2 of the remaining 14 have tied the game. And that's all for the Rockies in the 3rd inning, but Tulowitzki comes through behind in the count. He got a hanging slider and he smoked it to left. Rockies lead the Marlins 3-2 as we go to the 4th. Tulowitzki's 2-run bomb. Let's check in with Alana Rizzo again. She's got tonight's Fast Cash Sideline Report. It's brought to you by Fast Cash Gold Centers, where you'll always get 40% more for your gold. Alana.
All right, guys, thanks very much. We've already talked about Kevin Millwood being released from Boston Red Sox, the AAA team in Pawtucket. And he was going to drive up and down the East Coast for about 3 weeks to visit his family. But I said, what would you have done had you not gotten the call from the Rockies? What would you have done after baseball? He said, you know what? I've actually never given it any thought. I said, well, what about coaching? A lot of former players want to stay around the game. He said, you know what? Honestly, I don't know. He goes, I don't know if I could handle all of the different types of personalities that are in the game that I have seen my pitching coaches have to deal with over the years. He said, thankfully, I don't have to worry about it right now. And if you guys have talked to him much, you know he could be a country crooner. He has a really deep voice like a Josh Turner. But I wanted to ask you guys, for some, you know, they just ride off in the sunset. Like Todd Helton, will never see him again. But Huey, I'm sure in your experience, there were a lot of guys you had to kick them out of the clubhouse. They just hung on to the game for so long. Hard to let it go.
It is. It gets in your blood. It's tough to take that uniform off because it's something that you've done since you can remember, because that's all you've done. You played ball. You've always worn that uniform. The game of baseball, it just sticks with you. And that's why spring training is always so much fun. And I still remember just playing catch with my dad.
Yeah. You know, I remember having a conversation with a coach not all that long ago who's been in the game for years and years. And he said, I still get a great kick out of warming up every day and playing catch and throwing batting practice. And so, you know, everybody has a little kid in them, and,
sure,
and you hang on as long as you can. I think the decision, Jeff, for guys like a Millwood, this ball is tomahawked by Sanchez to left. It's going to run to the wall. And Gabby Sanchez is going to have a double. I think the decision for guys like Millwood, who've made a lot of money in the game and don't need to work, put it in quotations after. I mean, you still got to do something. You got to hopefully
keep the brain going.
Yeah, I mean, you hope you got 50, 60 more years of life in front of you. But for a lot of guys to be away from their families, the demands that a coaching job, whether it's, you know, at the developmental level, as you were doing in the minor leagues, or at the major league level, it's a lot of time away.
And that's the thing I think even players don't understand until they retire and decide to get into coaching. Because coaches will get to the ballpark anywhere from 11 in the morning for a 6:30, 7 o'clock ball game, and then they're there an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, 2 hours after a ball game's over. Players show up, you know, they'll show up at 3 o'clock,
And the other thing, and this is true of a lot of coaching staffs, foul back, where they are coaching, the hometown is not necessarily where they live. You know, Richie Dower's daughters are grown now, and so you know his wife is here with him, but Denver's not his hometown. Glenn Allen Hill lives, his family lives in Santa Cruz. Tommy Runnels lives in Toledo. The only member of the Rockies coaching staff that lives in Denver full time is the manager, Jim Tracy. This ball's hit a long way to right, and it's going to get out. John Buck has gone opposite field, and Florida goes back on top. For Buck, that's his 14th home run of the year. And it's 4-3 Marlins.
Ball just kept going and going. He was trying to hit the ball to the right side to advance Gabby Sanchez at least over to third base. But another ball that was up into the zone from Kevin Millwood. The double that Sanchez hit was a ball that was up, and he tomahawked it, as you mentioned, Drew. And this one was up, and he hits it to right field over the auxiliary scoreboard.
Dwayne Wise, who singled his first time, takes the ball. So 5 home runs now given up by Millwood in 10+ innings of work with the Rockies. Now, he wasn't hurt badly in Cincinnati because they were all solo home runs, but 2 two-run home runs tonight. And Wise pops this one up right around the pitcher's mouth. Tulowitzki's got it. But the point being, going back to our topic of conversation, so when the Rockies got in really late last night, and the only member of the coaching staff that was going home, truly home, was Jim Tracy, the manager.
Yeah, the rest of the guys may be going to an apartment, or some guys stay in hotels. I've known the coaches that'll stay in the hotel and then they'll check out when they go out on the road. Also factor in spring training. So you leave home 1st of February, and then you'll get home hopefully at the end of October.
You know, exactly. And then if you have children, it's a really, really, tough decision. It's a labor of love, but there's a heavy price to pay in terms of being away. Clay Hensley hit a line drive to left his first time up. 2 outs, nobody on. Marlins ahead now 4-3. That's a strike. Actually busting it the whole way. A pretty close play at first base. Tulowitzki throws him out. A double by Sanchez, 2-run home run. John Buck, 4-3 Florida. Colorado Rockies baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by your neighborhood Toyota stores. Toyota moving forward. By AT&T, the nation's fastest mobile broadband network. By McDonald's, during McNuggets Mania at McDonald's, get 50 juicy chicken McNuggets for just $9.99. And by the Colorado Lottery, don't forget to play. Back on another gorgeous night in lower downtown Denver at Coors Field. The Rockies trailing by a run as we go to the bottom of the fourth inning. Drew Goodman, the birthday boy Jeff Houston, accepting gifts now through the end of the month. Yes. And Alana Rizzo. Toyota talk coming up in a couple of innings. Text Toyota, followed by a space, and then your thoughts on the greatest or the best Rockies related gift you ever got. Was it a jersey, as Jeff pointed out earlier? Was it tickets from a friend, a loved one? Share that with us in the sixth inning on Toyota Talk. Eliezer Alfonso, line to left in the second inning. And he takes a pitch away, ball one.
I just see that the Minnesota Twins won tonight 9-6, but the big news there, Jim Thome, 600 career home runs, hit 2 of them tonight.
Jim Thome hit the 600 off a friend of ours, the son of a good friend of ours, Mark Schler's son Daniel. And I guess if you're gonna give one up, you know, it's okay if it's a historic one.
Yeah, people make a big deal out of it. I think it's good. I mean, you're pitching in the big leagues. Yeah, you don't want to give up a home run, but so what? It's part of history. It'll forever be linked to it.
That's a fair ball. And Buck tags Alfonso. I think the call's right from Tim Welke. No argument from Jim Tracy. 2 unassisted.
I think Alfonso was hoping that the ball would go foul. But hit out in front. That's a fair ball. That's the right call by Tim Welke. This will be an even better look at it. It never hit Alfonso, and it never went foul because the ball stayed right on the line as he went to go grab it.
Chris Nelson a single to right in the second inning. The Rockies got a run in the second. They loaded the bases on 3 singles, and then Johnny Herrera bounced into a force out to score a run. And a 2-run home run last inning from Tulowitzki. Marlins 4 runs, 7 hits, and the Rockies 3 runs on 5 hits.
How about that? Thome hit his home runs in consecutive at bats for .599 and 600.
I was reading a piece about him recently. He, I think, for many, again nationally, falls a little bit beneath the radar in that he's played in the Midwest. This is a rocket to left, and that'll take 1 hop and hit the wall. Chris Nelson scampers into second with a double, so he's 2 for 2.
Whatever mistakes have been made out on the mound tonight, pretty much the hitters have taken advantage of it. Chris Nelson took advantage of that pitch from Clay Hensley. Ball that was belt high inside part of the plate. These are the kind you dream about and you hope to get in batting practice.
Chris is safe at second, safe and secure. New York life. 1 out. Again, Rockies a chance to tie things up. Johnny Herrera at the plate with Millwood on deck. One thing, if you're a runner out at second, Jeff, a lot of things to be aware of, but you always peruse where the outfield's playing, don't you?
You have to. You check, and even if you're at first or second, you check. First, you get the sign from the third base coach, and then you check the outfielders. Now, you also know who has good arms out there. Well, all 3 of the guys out in the outfield for Florida have good arms, and especially in right and left.
Line drive toward the gap. Stanton almost lost that in the lights. He made the catch, But you could tell that he may have had some issues late with the lights. Now he's explaining that to Dwayne Wise.
Well, whenever you get a ball in the light, you try to get a little bit lower, and that's what Stanton does. He starts to go down to help him get that ball out of the light, and so he went into a half slide and caught that on the backhand side. But watch how quickly he gets up. We talked about his athleticism. That's 250 pounds getting up in about a split second.
Enough with his athletic ability. He ought to get up that quick. He's 21.
Okay. At 6'5", 255, 260.
Yeah, he's something, isn't he? Millwood at the plate. Kevin had a base hit in his start in Cincinnati. But knowing where the outfielders are, not only obviously Richie Dower is going to make the decision on a base hit whether to send Chris Nelson or not, but it's how you read a flare. The old Texas leaguer, you know, they're shallow. You probably figure it's going to be caught, but if the outfield's really deep and you see one that's flared over the infield, you might be able to get that jump pretty quickly. No, there's no way that's going to be caught. It's going to fall.
Yeah, but that's all factored into base running, and base running is not just speed. It's knowing the little things. Who has the good arms, where you play, everything involved will determine how good of a base runner you are.
Well, Nelson left at second base. We're through 4 innings. The Marlins have a 4-3 lead. Back to Denver right after. To Coors Field. Rockies trailing 4-3 as we go to the top of the 5th inning, and it's the top of the order for the Marlins against Kevin Millwood. Let's answer our AT&T trivia question. Only 3 active pitchers have more strikeouts than Kevin Millwood has accumulated in his fine career, 1946. Can you name them? Well, the knuckleballer's got to be on there. He's pitched since the 40s. Tim Wakefield, 21-29. Javier Vasquez, who pitches for Florida, has pitched well in the second half. And C.C. Sabathia.
Millwood was 3rd in the Cy Young voting back in '99 with Atlanta. He won 18 ball games, also 6 in '05 with Cleveland.
Speaking of the Atlanta Braves, the Giants are taking on water. The Braves took a 4-2 lead in Atlanta tonight to the 9th inning, and the Braves scored 3 off of, guess who, Brian Wilson, to win it. Freddie Freeman knocked in the last 2. Bunt attempt by Bonifacio. Nelson grabs it. One pitch, one out.
Yeah, Wilson, 2/3 of an inning, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, had a couple walks.
Today's minor league report is presented by Suzuki Auto's all-wheel drive lineup. Suzuki, the power of engineering. Jorge Cantu, the Rockies signed about a week and a half ago. He had been released, and he's working down in AAA Colorado Springs, 1 for 5. Tim Wheeler threw out a couple of hits, including a double yesterday. Modesto, Scott Robinson, he's heated up. He's been swinging the bat well. Been in the system for a while. Joey Wong had a 2-run home run for Asheville. Tyler Matzek's last couple of starts down in Asheville have been real solid. High fly ball to right.
Coming down on walks. Back into the strike zone, and the other thing I've noticed is his velocity's going up again.
Good to see.
Yeah, because he had been down into the 80s, and now it's back up to low to mid 90s.
He's got a great arm. It's a bump in the road for everybody who plays professional baseball. Obviously, a lot of guys who play in the minor leagues never get to this level, but the ones that do, they'll tell you many a story about adversity they had to overcome. Mike Stanton takes ball 1.
Roy Halladay, prime example.
Great example. But you know what? I was talking to Jack McKeon about that today, and he pointed out Jim Palmer. So we were talking about Josh Johnson being down again, and he's dealt with a lot of shoulder injuries. And he said Palmer, early in his career, not only dealt with shoulder injuries, but he was sent down at the time to Miami, to the Florida State League, when Miami had a team in the Florida State League before they got big league baseball, I mean, many moons ago. 3-0. And not only did he recover from that, as we all know, he went on to have a Hall of Fame career.
Yep.
And the shoulder injuries were kind of put behind him also. And that's what everybody who's associated with the Marlins hope with Josh Johnson, because when he's right, he's as good as there is in baseball.
I just remember earlier this year when the Rockies faced him, and he was dominating in his start. You ask any big league hitter, he's always at the tip of their tongue saying, oh, they look at that probable schedule and the upcoming guys when you go into a series. That's the name you're looking for when you face the Marlins. Is he going to be on that list?
Sure. He's throwing on flat ground right now, which, if you're just throwing flat ground as a pitcher on August 15th, I would doubt whether you're going to pitch in the big leagues again this year.
Why would you? The only reason you might want to try to come back just for peace of mind as you go into the offseason. How does it feel? But you also look at where the Marlins are right now, and 8 games under 500, going nowhere. Why risk rushing a Josh Johnson back? Let's make sure he's completely healthy, so everything's okay going forward into the new stadium.
Greg Dobbs grounds to Johnny Herrera. Mike Stanton left at first, middle of 5, 4-3 Fish. Home run by John Buck. Did you miss any of tonight's game? If so, check out Double Play tomorrow at 5:30 before the start of the Rockies and Marlins Game 2. It's all the highlights and best moments in just 30 minutes, only on Root Sports. Hi there. Eric Young Jr. bunt base hit last time, 1 for 2, and Clay Hensley misses away, ball 1. Young, Fowler, Gonzalez. And Junior works underneath this one, right center field. Stanton and Wise. It'll be Dwayne Wise.
Clay Hensley tonight has already received more runs of support in the 4 than he had in his previous 4 starts. He only got 3 runs in those games.
Time for our CenturyLink high-speed pitch. Clay Hensley, not a hard thrower. He's worked in the high 80s with his fastball. Kevin Millwood has touched 92. One ball, 1 strike. Tigers and Twins, before they played that ball game tonight, where Tomey hit the 2 home runs, including a 600. They made a pretty significant trade. Delman Young, who drove in 112 runs last year from Minnesota, was traded from minor league pitcher and a player to be named later to Detroit, and was immediately inserted into the 3-hole. This ball's a line drive to the gap in right center field. Dexter may have another triple. Around second, here he goes to third, easily in there. Another 3-bagger for Dexter, his 12th of the year.
Tied with Shane Victorino for second. Once this ball gets into the gap, just down and low, he goes down and golfs this ball into the gap. And it got by Wise, and it's fun to watch Dexter because not many guys, once they hit second base and that ball's behind them, have the speed, and they probably should not do this, but look over their shoulder. I got this. I got it. Club record for triples in a season is also done by Dexter back in 2010 with 14.
A little surprised Jack McKeon here in the 5th with Cargo up playing the infield in a 1-run game.
I am. I'm shocked that he is. I would just say I'll play back. I'll trade the out for the run. It'd still be 4-4, but I would get 2 outs if he hits it at somebody.
Just open up a lot of holes for a guy with Gonzalez's abilities.
And then if he bloops it in, then you've got Troy following him up.
Cargo, I think last time up, thought he hit it out to right center field. A ball that Dwayne Wise made a really nice running catch on right at the wall in extreme right center field.
But Carlos cannot get overly aggressive. That's the area that'll still get him. With balls that are down and not strikes, he'll get himself out.
It's popped up and playable for Bob. Just what you said. And now it'll take a 2-out hit. He reached for a pitch out of the zone. Time for a Coors Light Cold Hard Blast, 3rd inning. Hanging slider to Troy Tulowitzki, and he swatted it into the seats and left. That gave the Rockies at the time a 3-2 lead. That's our Coors Light Cold Hard Blast. I'll talk about how tough this game is for Carlos Gonzalez, what a grind it is mentally. He's got to sit and hope that Tulowitzki comes through and brings home Dexter Fowler to level this game at 4. And then when the inning ends, he goes back to his position, and you're going to sit for 20, 30, 40 minutes till you come up again, and you can't erase the memory of being a little over anxious.
It grinds on you, because that's all you can think about. Especially for an outfielder, because they have a little bit more time in between pitches. They're not thinking about maybe who's going to be covering the pitches that's coming, relaying it to other guys. So it will eat at the outfielders a little bit more than it will an infielder, just because there's more involved playing the infield than the outfield. I think he wants this pitch back. He knows he should have done something with that, with it was up into the strike zone.
Fowler a triple. He's at third with 2 outs. 4-3 Florida.
Steve Cishek is out in the bullpen for the Marlins.
Tulowitzki lines it foul down the left field line.
Inslee's thinking, I'm lucky that I'm throwing underneath hitting speed, because if he's not, that ball's a double down the left field line. But when a guy's only throwing 86, 87 miles an hour, you'll get out in front of it, and the barrel will travel faster than you hope for, and you hook him foul. Third base now, Dexter still has to be aware of those balls that might be down into the dirt. If it kicks far enough away, he could score. Doesn't have to get that far for Dexter with those long strides.
1-2 the count on Tulowitzki. Wells Fargo customers get your 2-for-1 Rockies tickets today by going to wellsfargo.com/Rockies.
First we had John Buck go out. Now we'll have the pitching coach, Randy St. Clair. You guys on the same page? You would not want to throw that changeup? Is that what this is all about?
You know, when the Punch and Judy guys up there, you typically don't get the pitching coach out there in the middle of an at-bat. When the big guys are up there.
Yeah. Make sure you hit your spot, because you saw what he almost did a moment ago and what he has done earlier in the game.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Rockies all year have struggled in situational at-bats, i.e. the first at-bat after Fowler tripled, the one by Gonzalez, and hitting with runners in scoring position with any kind of consistency. Right guys at the plate. Tulo a single and a 2-run home run tonight. hitting .393 since the All-Star break, third best mark in the National League. Outside, 3-2.
On the year, the Rockies with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, just .239 to further your point you were mentioning a moment ago, Drew.
Sanchez strikes out Tulowitzki. So the Rockies leave Dexter Fowler, the tying run, at third base. We'll go to the 6th. Look back. There have been some big flies in this ball game. In the first inning, Mike Stanton, fortunately this didn't count a few times. He hit this ball 472 feet, a 2-run home run, third longest home run in baseball this year. The Rockies got a 2-run home run to take a 3-2 lead from a familiar source. Troy Tulowitzki is 24th of the year. Fourth inning, John Buck has got power to all fields. And he hit one out to right with a man aboard to give Florida their current 4-3 lead. Kevin Millwood gets a pop-up on the first pitch from Gabby Sanchez. Dexter's got it, 1 out. And again, that was brought to you by Cooney Lexus, where luxury has an address, South Broadway in Littleton. Go see him. Toyota Talk inning, National League leaders in triples. Jose Reyes, who's hurt right now, with 16. Shane Victorino and Dexter Fowler with a dozen. And tonight our question from the birthday boy Jeff Houston: what's the best gift with the Rockies you ever received? Last Sunday I got a framed photo of Todd Helton for my birthday. That's awesome. And that's from Todd in Westminster.
There you go. Dante Bichette bats.
The tacos eat when they score 7 runs. The Rockies wish they were handing more of those out this year. John Buck at the plate. The 0-1 misses. Well, somebody got hit. Tulo signed it. Jacob from Longmont was at that ball game when Helton hit that home run off Takashi Saito. That was a nice breaking ball.
Started that run back in '07.
Kelsey knows what her favorite gift one day would be.
Will be.
Right. Great way to spend Father's Day, DJ. We were just in St. Louis, obviously. A lot of Rockies fans were mixed in with all the red. Good pickup by Tulowitzki.
And then 92 across the diamond, maybe even a little harder.
When you played short, you played a lot of shortstop in your big league career. Did you, depending on how hard it was hit, depending on who was running, did you guide it over there sometimes, or did you always let it go?
I had to let it go because I didn't have the arm that Troy had. Yeah, honestly,
but you know what I mean.
Yeah, sometimes I felt like if I just guided it over there, that I didn't have as much control over it. And then the ball would start to sink a little bit, or you might sail it. And then if you did that, then you're just kicking yourself because you didn't throw it hard enough.
Dwayne Wise with 2 outs. Did you always try to get to the same arm slot if possible?
Yes. That's why the footwork to me is the most important thing, because when your feet are right, your arm will get in that same slot every time. You dictate how fast the ball gets over there, not the runner dictating what you have to do. I don't care if I threw him out by 2 feet or 20 feet. I was going to do the same thing. Oh, the Serena family. I had dinner with them last night, so wishing me, they forgot to wish me a happy birthday last night, so they're just doing it tonight.
They didn't have anything better to do last night?
No, I guess not.
2-2. We're going to see Clint Barmas in a week.
Jay Boulder.
That was my Willie Mays story. Except it wasn't signed by Willie. It was, the stamp signature.
That's okay.
Swung on and missed. Good curveball by Millwood. So Millwood works a 1-2-3 6th inning. Kevin hanging in there. He's giving up the 2-2 run home runs, but he's given the Rockies an opportunity, second straight start, to win a ball game.
In the 6th inning, including tonight, there are 40 games left for the Colorado Rockies remaining in the 2011 regular season. Earlier today, Jim Tracy was asked how he would like to manage the last 40.
Can't begin to tell you how warm it is in that clubhouse, seeing Juan Nicasio walking around there, spending some time and engaging himself with his teammates and things like that. This guy is some kind of tough, I got to tell you.
Well, that's actually much better news, because that was Jim Tracy talking about the return of Juan Nicasio. Earlier today, Juan Nicasio was able to go and meet and visit with his teammates in the Rockies clubhouse today. Really warm reception, of course, from all of his teammates. Loved all the smiles on everybody's faces. Juan Nicasio, guys, is going to talk to the media tomorrow. Great to see him back in that clubhouse just 2 weeks ago. That obviously that pitch to the head where he fractured his C1 vertebrae. He's doing well. He's making great progress. We'll hear from him tomorrow. And later on in this game, we'll hear about how Tracy wants to manage the final 40, guys.
Good breaking ball. All right, Alana, thank you very much. And listen, he's a manager, and there's no white flag. He wants to see if he's going to try to go 40-0, and that's not going to happen. We all realize that. A year ago, with 40 to play, the Rockies were 11 out and 12 and a half out, strike 3 on Giambi, and they went 20-6 over their next 26 to reach the cusp of first place. So anything is possible, despite the fact that the Rockies clearly have not played the kind of baseball they thought they would play ever since the end of April.
Yeah, but you also owe it to yourself, to this organization, to the fans that are paying tickets to come watch you play, to go out there these final 40 games and try to win them just like you tried to win the first 120 ball games. There's no, I mean, that's what you signed up for.
Alfonso.
You think he was going to charge the mound? Or
I
just
think
the umpire
Tim
just
Welke,
make sure?
Tim Welke got around there pretty quick.
Well, maybe because the first couple steps he took, because once he got spun around, it looked like he was going out towards the mound. Well, when he gets spun around here, a couple steps will be towards the mound, but he's not going there. And he's wondering, who's grabbing me?
Nelson is 3 for 3. And the Rockies have 2 on and 1 out here in the 6th. Johnny Herrera coming up.
First hit for Chris Nelson was to right field. Now 2 bullets to left. For Jonathan to lay down a bunt here to get the 2 guys into scoring position, and then you can pitch hit for Kevin Millwood.
I don't know if Jim's going to play it that way, and I just think that he's seen so many opportunities with runners in scoring position with the right guys, quote unquote, that haven't gone his way. I think he'd rather take two swings.
What happens if he hits into a double play and you come out of this inning without scoring a run?
Well, you know, that's the risk you take. That's a strike. 0-2.
Or you end up leaving him at first and second and 1 out. And then you still pinch hit for the guy. And he did swing. Rex Brothers out in the bullpen.
Smith and Wigginton both have helmets on off camera. Now they've gone down the stairs, do some tee work. This is bounced over the mound. It's only 1 play, so it works as a bunt. With 2 outs, Millwood will be called back, and Seth Smith will pinch hit.
teaser now.
Jack McKeon counter, I would assume, right?
Yeah, but Michael Dunn. Good for Jonathan Herrera to get the guys over to second and third.
McKeon now will make the move. Dunn's a little more versatile than Choate. Choate's been great. Randy Choate, former Arizona Diamondback, left on left. Dunn'll get some righties out also. So Clay Hensley departs. He has gone 5 2/3, and he leaves with a 4-3 lead. Root Sports is brought to you by the Courtyard by Marriott on the 16th Street Mall. Ask about our hometown sports package. By King Supers, more value for the way you live. And by Sonic, America's heating up, but nothing's hotter than Sonic's premium beef Baja Dog with pepper jack and jalapenos for only $1.99. Here's the situation, bottom of the 6th inning. Clay Hensley, one little chapstick, and he's now out of the ball game. 5 2/3. He pitched well. Didn't walk a batter, hit one batter, struck out 5. Chris Nelson and Eliezer Alfonso on base. Nelson a base hit. Alfonso in front of him was hit by a pitch. Mike Dunn. Make his 57th appearance, and he'll try to get the pinch hitter Seth Smith.
Only 2 Rockies have faced Mike Dunn in his career, and one of them is Seth Smith, who's 0 for 1. Lefty's hitting just 175 off of Dunn.
Now, Smith has always excelled in this role as a late game pinch hitter. And the reason he's being utilized here in the 6th inning when it's not really late is the Rockies have Todd Helton at their disposal tonight.
That's the luxury that Jim has with Todd at least getting the first part of this night off after the long travel day. Getting in late last night, early this morning I should say.
2-0. There's Helton. Dunn will run it up there, 96 or so.
So throw a slider to go along with it.
Struck out 62 in 55 innings. That's very good, but he's also walked 30. And he's fallen behind 3-1. Smith 5 for his last 13 against lefties. He's got the average up to 246 left on left. Had a good road trip. Hit 3 home runs on the trip. 353 average.
Bomb in Cincinnati, almost about 7 rows from leaving the stadium.
Yeah, he crushed that. This is fouled off. Pretty good hack there. You're getting a 3-1 count with a reliever that throws hard. Just comfortably sit on that fastball. You know you're getting it.
Well, and with the guy that's throwing 95 to 96, you can't sit really anything else, especially left on left. If you do, you're going to get eaten up with that. You're going to be late, and it's not going to look pretty.
That elusive big hit, that's what the Rockies are looking for here. 2 outs, 2 in scoring position. Rockies trailing 4-3. Here's the 3-2.
Seth really trying to stay inside the baseball. Keeping that right shoulder closed so he doesn't get pulled off of that ball that's away from him. When you start to pull off, it slows the bat down, and he's looking to stay on it so he hit the ball, at least get a fly ball to left field or center field.
And Dunn strikes out Smith on a slider. Rockies leave 2 on. We'll go to the 7th. It's 4-3 Florida.
Rockies in the top of the 7th inning. We got the kinks worked out in our brand new truck. This is what I was talking about earlier, Jim Tracy, on how to manage the last 40 games.
Goal, first of all, for the final 40 is to win as many of them as we possibly can. I can promise you that. You know, we've got a nice lengthy homestand here. We're obviously involving a lot of people. We're involving everyone, actually. You know, and I look at it this way. You know, 40 games is a lot of games.
40 games is a lot of games left, guys, and we have 9 here at home on this homestand. And Jim Tracy continued in that soundbite to say, you know, we have to take advantage of the fact that we are home for a lengthy homestand because they have not performed well here at Coors Field where they have in their past. So time to take advantage of it now in these final 40, guys.
Well, you're running out of dates on the calendar. Rex Brothers on for the 32nd time. Kevin Millwood goes 6 innings. He allows 4 runs on 7 hits. He walks 1 and strikes out 3. And he gave up the 2 two-run home runs, 1 to Stanton, 1 to John Buck. But, you know, all in all, he kept the Rockies very much in the baseball game. And, you know, I don't think at this stage in Millwood's career, you're expecting him to go throw 7 shutout innings. Keep him in games. That's one of the reasons he wasn't on a big league roster so far this year. And in 2 ball games, Kevin Millwood has done that. 7 pretty good innings, 6 pretty good innings.
Yeah, just the one thing that's hurt him has been the long ball, but at least he's competitive when he goes out there. And you feel like he's going to keep you in the game, as you mentioned. He's going to give your offense a chance to try to catch up. Again tonight, I mean, 4 innings, or 4 runs, excuse me, just 7 hits, 87 pitches to do it.
Brothers falls behind Alfredo Amezaga 2-0.
Rex pitched last night in an inning, just 9 pitches.
Two balls and a strike.
Just Mezica just 143 on the season as a right-handed hitter.
Ground ball to the right side, and Johnny Herrera's there. Get your CSU football season tickets and reserve your seat for big home games like the Air Force Academy, the Wyoming Cowboys, and Boise State. Sideline season tickets will include the Cinch Jeans Rocky Mountain Showdown against CU. Call 1-800-491-RAMS or visit csurams.com. Ozzie Martinez, the top prospects in Florida's system, will pinch hit.
Just recall a few days ago, they made a few roster moves on Saturday, sending down Logan Morrison and also releasing Wes Helms.
And Wes was really the leader of this club. Wes didn't play a lot, primarily a pinch hitter. Wes Helms was the clubhouse leader. A very fine career. You wonder if he'll show up either somewhere else this year or wants to continue his career next year. Somebody needs a corner infielder, come off the bench, swing the bat a little bit, maybe provide you some pop. Martinez is thrown out. Let's take a look at our Coors Light freeze can. Greg Dobbs in the first inning drove one to deep left center field. Dexter Fowler ran an open 60-yard dash to get to the baseball. Great grab. Brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
It's one of the times where baseball measures people in 60-yard dashes, and I always wonder why they do that. Wouldn't a 40-yard dash be a little bit better, or maybe how fast you run down the line, which they do? But that was the one case where that 60-yard dash came into play.
Yeah, and football people will tell you how many guys actually ever sprint 40 yards. Good inning for Brady. Middle of 7, stretch time. 3 for a while now since John Buck hit a 2-run home run against Kevin Millwood. Root Sports Red Alerts. They'll keep you updated about the latest Rockies happenings. Text the word alerts to 720-720 to get Rockies updates straight to your phone. 2-run home run by Buck coming in the 4th inning. Just a half inning after Troy Tulowitzki had briefly given the Rockies a 3-2 lead on a 2-run home run of his own. Drew Goodman, along with Jeff Houston, celebrating yet another birthday today.
That's a good thing.
That is a really good thing. Beats
the alternative, exactly.
Solano Rizzo with us as well. Former Padre Edward Mujica, a supreme strike thrower. He's got the first one over Derek Young.
Is one of the best strikeout to walk ratios last year. Almost 12 strikeouts to every 1 walk. It's the 5th best all time in Major League history. Just part of that pen in San Diego that's been so dominating for a long time. Mike Adams, who was traded from the Padres pens to the Rangers, he gave up a home run in his first appearance, and since then he's been lights out.
Yeah, they keep developing pitchers, and they gave up 2 good ones. Ryan Webb also, San Diego did, to get Cameron Maben. It's a pretty nice play by Emilio Bonifacio to get Eric Young. 1 out. That'll bring up Dexter Fowler. If your windshield is damaged, call Safelite Auto Glass. The number's 303-287-5000, online at safelite.com. Dex tripled with 1 out in the 5th inning. Cargo fouled out, and Tulowitzki struck out. He represented the tying run. 12th triple for Dexter. This is on the ground to second. And Meziga makes the play. Now with 2 gone, Carlos Gonzalez will approach a strikeout, a deep drive to right center field, and that foul out. The Rockies made a roster move earlier today. J.C. Romero, who they brought in for a workout, veteran left-handed pitcher. A lot of good years with Philadelphia in particular. The Rockies liked what they saw yesterday, and they added him to the roster. Edgar Gonzalez was designated for assignment.
Well, they knew that J.C. was healthy. That was the key thing. They worked him out, had him looked over by the doctors, everything checked out. Now you have 3 left-handers out there, but you can also use Matt Reynolds a lot. I know Matt Belisle's up right now, but Matt Reynolds, you can use him now to be able to get right-handers out, not just a lefty specialist.
1-2-3 inning for Mujica. We'll go to the 8th inning. 4-3 Florida. Time for the Excel Energy high efficiency inning. Rex Brothers in the 7th had a good inning. Got Alfredo Amezaga on a ground ball to second. Ozzie Martinez, pinch hitter, sharp ground ball to third. And then Emilio Bonifacio. Brought to you by Excel Energy. Learn about energy efficiency and how to save energy and money in your home by visiting responsiblebynature.com. Brothers will continue on with a left-handed batter due up initially in Brian Peterson. 2, 3, and 4. It's Peterson, Mike Stanton, and Greg Dobbs, with Florida ahead 4-3.
Such a quick inning, also last inning for Rex Brothers.
Crowd of 32,175. Two on Peterson.
Only 2 times in Rex's early career here at the major league level has he worked more than 1 inning. Both times it's been 1 1/3. These are both back in June against Cleveland and then the Dodgers.
You know, Peterson's an anteater.
I'm thinking, just give me a second. Don't name the college yet or university.
Weren't they in the College World Series a couple of years ago? Or close?
Close.
The anteater's gone.
Thinking about this, let me tell you that the first 10,000 fans on August 19th will receive a Jason Giambi t-shirt courtesy of Quest's CenturyLink. First 10,000 fans.
So Jim Tracy will bring in the right-hander to face Mike Stanton. Good work for Rex Brothers. Matt Bly will be on when we come back.
Coors Field, Matt Belisle almost set to go. He will face Mike Stanton of the Florida Marlins. We were just talking about how you can get your CSU football tickets. Well, it is that time of year again to begin talking about fall programming. Root Sports wants you to gear up for a full slate of action coming this fall. We'll bring you Pac-12, Big 12 football, and basketball. Full slate of CU games, plus you'll get DU hockey and basketball, and of course live Colorado high school games. Watch with us starting in September right here on Root Sports, guys. Football time.
Not far away. Not far away. Matt Belisle will face Mike Stanton with 1 out in the 8th inning. That's down low. All right, you give up?
Well, I had to look it up, so you go ahead. And
Cal Irvine, the Anteaters, they were in the College World Series.
2007.
I think that was his draft year. Brian Peterson.
I can't decide. Is anteaters or banana slugs a better nickname?
Banana slugs. 2-1. Stanton, a long home run in the first inning, third longest in baseball this year, 472 feet, with Peterson aboard. Struck out in the third, walked on 4 pitches in the fifth. Look out. That almost knocked Johnny Herrera into the outfield. You see that?
Yeah, but he was perfectly positioned.
Matt Belisle's heart skipped a beat also.
I don't blame him, because that ball was hit hard. Matt tried to get that glove out there, but Johnny on the spot. Now, the last 15 Marlin batters, it's been 14 outs, just 1 walk. It all started after that home run by John Buck in the 4th inning with nobody out.
Oh, 0-1 on Greg Dobbs. You think Stanton's even scratched the surface?
No.
He's really new to the game. I mean, when I say that, he got to play a lot of high school ball, whipped through the minor leagues, but you know what I mean. I mean, he was concentrating on 2 other sports in high school. And you played a ton of baseball, but then you got to pro ball, and that's a completely different animal.
A whole different animal, because that's what you eat, sleep, and breathe every single day of the year. And whether it's spring training and then you go through the season, then your off season is consumed by how you're getting ready for the next season. Those are the little things, and also pitcher's tendencies. What's going to happen? What's he going to throw me in this count? All the little nuances of the game that you don't learn until you have the experience.
Belisle, who fields his position well, throws to Giambi. And the Rockies work a 1-2-3 inning. Brothers got the first man, Belisle the next 2. 4-3. Time for the Land Rover extraordinary play. 5th inning. It's a lot of fun. Whenever Dexter Fowler hits one in the gap or down the line, watching him fly around the bases. Mr. Triple. His 12th of the year. Our Land Rover extraordinary play. Unfortunately, the Rockies couldn't cash in Dex's 1-out triple. Rockies will have Troy Tulowitzki here, leading off in the 8th inning. Second inning of work for Edward Mujica. The Rockies have shut down the Marlins. They've retired 10 in a row.
That hasn't been the problem. It's the 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position.
It's continuing a theme from the road trip and a theme for the 2011 season.
You want a Troy Tulowitzki bobblehead? Well, you can get one if you're one of the first 10,000. Courtesy of King Soopers. The gates will open 2 hours before the 2:10 start time. That's Saturday afternoon.
That's high. Single and a 2-run home run in 3 trips. Only got a pitch to hit there. Fouled it straight back.
Go up into the zone is Mahika. Once he elevates that fastball, then the split finger comes into his repertoire. Here it is.
Trader Jack got that nickname when he was the GM of the San Diego Padres. Two and two. Inside 3-2. This one's fouled back. Hey, a reminder coming up on the Toyota post-game show. More Toyota talk. Text Toyota followed by a space, and then your comments, questions, thoughts on Huey's birthday to 720-720.
That was at the top.
That's what I wanted to make it, but I lost out.
Special gifts, that's for sure.
Ball 4, good at bat. Tulowitzki, the tying run with a leadoff walk here in the 8th inning. And now Jason Giambi.
What's nice for Jason too is this is going to be his 4th at bat, so it's not like he's striding up there as a pinch hitter where he's been sitting for a while.
Yeah, single, a ground ball to second, and he was caught looking at a good curveball against Clay Hensley. Down low. Florida does not put any kind of shift on, even with nobody on base for Giambi. And in fact, you know, we've seen teams when Jason's come up with 1 out where they'll put their shortstop basically right behind second base so they can still easily turn the double play but protect the middle of the diamond. That's not how Jack McKeon interprets the data that he has received on the spray chart.
Well,
for Giambi, he's really got a conventional setup with Giambi.
And the outfielders are not really swung over either to a pull side. And you could do that if you wanted to move the shortstop more up the middle, because Bonifacio has played some second base. He's played all over, really. So if you had the second baseman shifted over and you felt like if it was hit to the third baseman somehow, Bonifacio could still turn it at second base. chose to just play it normal, straight up, double play depth.
And that catches the outside corner, so it's 2-1 on the big man.
Not falling asleep on Troy, who has 8 stolen bases.
Swung on and missed. Tulowitzki's going. High throw. He's got his 9th stolen base. So he's in scoring position with nobody out.
Well, the jump and Giambi swinging kept John Buck, the catcher, back, so he couldn't jump out there and get a quick throw, and he threw a high ball to Emilio. He went up and got it. Keep it from going to center field.
2 years ago, Tulowitzki stole 20 bases. He picks his spots. He has the ability to do it. And it's great when you can steal impactful bases. That's an important stolen base right there. You're talking about a one-run game, 8th inning, leadoff walk. And now he's in scoring position. Giambi pulls the ball here. He's at third. Giambi takes inside 3-2. Eliezer Alfonso's on deck. And this is popped up. Bonifacio makes the catch, 1 out. That'll bring up Eliezer Alfonso.
Something happened to Mojica? Get the trainer out there, Randy St. Clair, Jack McKeon. I just saw that Gabby Sanchez had went over and was talking to him for a moment, reaching to the back of his arm. That's never a good sign.
Yeah, you know what? If you see that, you're the manager.
That's it.
That's it. You know, you don't want to see one more warm-up pitch.
Yeah, you don't need to throw another one. Maybe he is going to.
No way.
I'm even surprised they let him throw that one pitch.
Yeah, I think you got to shut it down right away. Anytime you have a strain, you're just going to exacerbate it. So Mojica's got to go off with 1 out and a runner at second in the 8th inning. Jack McKeon's just trying to bridge his way to his closer, Leo Nunez. Has a call been made? A lot of guys standing around. Is it me? Is it me?
You?
Who's going in?
We called for the right-hander.
And 4 guys stood up. The only guy didn't stand up. That'll be Badenhop coming in. Burke Badenhop.
Take a look at the replay, and he was bending over. Put a little extra on that last throw. Who knows? It took him 7 pitches to finally get Jason out.
So Burke Badenhop will take over. Again, 1 out in the 8th inning. Tulowitzki's at second base. Alfonso coming up when we return. Colorado Rockies baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. New Rapid Rewards, unlimited reward seats, and no blackout dates. Here's the situation in the 8th inning. The Rockies down a run. They have Tulowitzki, who walked and stole second, standing at second base with 1 out. Let's check in with Alana Rizzo. Alana.
All right, guys. Well, in honor of Huey's birthday, Mark Stout, who I like to call Mark Stat, looked up what Jeff Houston had done in his Major League Baseball career on August 15th. 2 for 12, Huey, which isn't great, but it was a decent 2. You had 2 RBIs, 2 singles, and you scored a run. So no matter what, you're always playing on your birthday. A decent line. Probably could have done better. But we still love you.
Ouch.
2 for 12, really?
Wait a second.
Ouch. Well, let me see. That's 2 more than
2
you.
more than
That's
me.
12 more
I knew it was
APs
coming.
than I got.
I knew that was coming. I know.
Let me
I
think
know.
about
Happy
this for a second.
birthday.
Yeah, I know.
Mark Stout would come up with that, of
And
course.
2
Yeah,
more
don't
than
throw
Mark
me under
Stout.
the bus. That's 12 more than Stout had.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's the fun thing about having a birthday during the season. You always get to go out and play a game.
Helton's been good on his birthday. I know that. He's been pretty good on the other days also.
Yeah, all the other days it ended in Y. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. All right. Burke Badenhop out of Bowling Green State University has completed his warm-up pitches. Righties are hitting much better against Badenhop, interestingly enough, than lefties. Righties close to 290. Lefties down around 220. So Eliezer Alfonso 0 for 2, and he was hit by pitches last time up. Trying to drive in Tulowitzki to tie up the baseball game. Rockies tonight 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position. That was at the bottom of the zone. Then Alfonso gave a glare back at the crew chief, Tim Welke.
And Tim Welke gave him the signal that it was a sinker that caught the zone before it dipped down where the catcher caught it. A lot of arms and legs from the 6'5" right-hander. He was part of that big trade with the Detroit Tigers, involving Cameron Mabrin, Andrew Miller. That was in exchange for Miguel Cabrera and then Dontrell Willis, who the Rockies just saw last week in Cincinnati.
Dontrell got hurt yesterday, had to leave the ball game in the 3rd inning in his next start. 0-2. How do you like that? The Brewers won tonight.
They turned a triple play.
They've been unconscious.
It wasn't the conventional. It was a double play, and then the guy tried to make it home, and they threw him out there.
Line drive, center field, and it's caught by Dwayne Wise, who's made a couple of really nice plays tonight in center field.
He had the catch in the right center field gap off the bat of Carlos Gonzalez, and now off the bat of Alfonso.
Alfonso thought he had a hit. Thought he had driven it. You know what? I love emotion.
Sometimes we don't see enough of it.
Jose Morales giving a pat to Alfonso. Listen, all you can do is hit the ball hard where it's pitched. Once it leaves your bat, you have no control over it. Good AB, bad result for Eliezer Alfonso. Maybe the right guy's up at the plate for this ball game. Chris Nelson, 3 for 3 tonight. He's hit all 3 balls hard. 2 singles and a double. Boy, this year for the Rockies, it's like they drop guys off at the island, and then the boat leaves the dock and doesn't let them come back home. So many folks left on base. Tonight, the same deal. Rockies 2 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Last night, they had a tough night. The whole road trip.
It's really been a theme at home as well, which is shocking considering we went over 50 ball games the last couple of years at home.
Johnny Herrera is on deck. It's hard for me to see if Schote's warming up. Do you pinch hit for Johnny if Nelson reaches on a walk, which he just did?
Yep.
Yep. He's going to be called back. Jack McKeon, he didn't miss a beat. He figured that the Rockies could potentially go to health, so he wanted to make sure he was ready. So Trace is going to send up Ty Wigginton here. Ty's 1 for 6 this year in a pinch hitting role. Now McKeon is going to go out.
And he's going to go to Nunez, his closer.
Yeah, he's going to ask his closer to get 4 outs.
Now we'll see if Jim counters and uses Todd Helton now, even though that Wiggy's been announced.
4-3 Florida. Back in a moment. Nunez is on the mound trying to get a 4-out save for Florida. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Colorado Rockies, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Rockies. So Ty Wigginton will pinch hit against Nunez. Tulowitzki at second, the tying run. Chris Nelson, the go-ahead run, is at first. Both of those gentlemen have reached via walks.
58th ball game on the year for Nunez.
He's having a really good year.
He is, and he's a hard thrower. A fastball, changeup, slider mix. Really just fastball, changeup.
He has 32 saves. That's already a career high. Last year he saved 30, which was the best he had ever done. He has not produced a save this year of more than 3 outs.
Oh, with the injury to Edwin Mujica, it kind of forced Jack McKeon's hand to bring his closer in to try to get this last out.
And he misses there. It's 2-0 on Wigginton. Wigginton hitting for Johnny Herrera.
And you know already, if you're Ty Wigginton, that Todd's on the on-deck circle. So make sure that strike zone's small. Don't go expanding it and swinging too hard.
Yeah, these are where the decisions of a manager are really difficult. Had Jim Tracy put Helton in the on-deck circle to hit for Herrera, called him back and announced Helton, Jack McKeon undoubtedly would bring in Randy Choate. You say, well, okay, this guy's tough on left-handed hitters, but Helton is 3 for 9 against Choate. Todd's hit lefties his whole career. Those are tough decisions, and you don't have a ton of time to make them. I mean, you're trying to think of, you know, an inning ahead, a couple of hitters ahead, that sort of thing.
But Todd's been in situations so much in his career that, you know, 2 outs you'd like to have to see him have an opportunity to drive in some runs.
And also, you're not going to lead Helton off probably next inning if Wigginton does not come through. You could, but you know, you probably go to maybe a Mark Ellis, more of a leadoff type hitter. Who knows? I mean, and then you're back to the top of the order. You have Eric Young. You could hit for Handel. I mean, a lot of difficult decisions in a one-run game for managers. 3-2 now, so the runners will be moving. If Wigginton finds a gap, Nelson runs really well. Rockies could take the lead here. Swung on and missed. Nunez strikes out Wigginton, and the Rockies leave 2 more on base. We'll go to the 9th, 4-3 Marlins. Wigginton stays in the ballgame at third. Chris Nelson flips over to second base where Johnny Herrera was playing. Matt Belisle continues on as we check in with Tom Helmer. Tom?
Coming up on the Toyota postgame show, we're going to talk about no pop in the clutch. The Rockies 2 for 14 with runners in scoring position. Also 2-point Buck. Not big if you're hunting, but if you're John Buck and you hit a 2-run shot, it's a big deal, and it's a difference maker in this game so far. And as always, we'll get you down into the clubhouse, hear from Jim Tracy and the Rockies after the ball game. It's all coming up on the Toyota postgame show. Drew?
All right, Tom, thank you. So Matt Belisle, who got the final 2 outs of the 8th inning, will face Gabby Sanchez, John Buck, who Tom was just talking about, and Dwayne Wise. Sanchez doubled back in the fourth. Came around on the Buck 2-run home run. No run since that time. The Marlins have not had a base runner since Mike Stanton walked on 4 pitches with 2 outs in the 5th inning against Kevin Millwood. Again, Millwood goes 6 innings, gives up 4 runs, 7 hits, walked 1, struck out 3. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Rockies during that time have had 6 base runners a couple different times. Had first and second last inning, and also second and third.
All in 2 strikes. Sanchez had a terrific first half. Made an appearance as a pinch hitter in the 7th inning of the All-Star game in Phoenix. Did not get a hit. He had to go on the disabled list with a hamstring injury. Actually, he never went on the DL. He missed several games. Let me correct that. And since getting back in the lineup, he's just 8 for his next 55 at the plate. Dropped his average considerably.
Yeah, only 4 RBIs during that time, and he's supposed to be one of your leading RBI guys. But it goes back to what we were talking about a little bit with Carlos, that timing issue. It's also his left hamstring, so that's the leg he plants with. So when you have that hamstring and your leg's not completely healthy, you're real tentative to get firm on that front side. So you start to stay back too much on that right leg, and you'll start to work underneath the ball.
Another 1-2. 2-2.
Haven't seen that rally cap before, but it's interesting. Just getting ready for next half inning.
And the Rockies will have 9, 1, and 2 in their lineup. That is one hopper that's going to eat up Nelson. He was indecisive, didn't know whether to come and get it, try to get it in the air, or try to get it on the short hop. He stayed back, and he got that in-between hop.
He just didn't play this right. When you're indecisive, be aggressive. Come get it, at least knock it down for a second baseman. You can knock it down, goalie up on it, and then throw him out at first base. Gave him a base hit on that one. I think that one should have been ruled in air.
I think Chris Nelson would tell you that's a play he's got to make. And it wasn't hit that hard.
No, when you have the short throw at second base, or if you knock it down, the ball's still going to go towards first a little bit more.
Oh, 0-1 on John Buck. Fastball in. The last hit for the Marlins prior to that questionable one was John Buck's 2-run home run in the 4th inning. So the Rockies, their pitching staff, Kevin Millwood after that home run, and then Rex Brothers, now Matt Belisle, they've been very good.
It'll be at Coors Field August 17th for the Colorado Lottery's Mega Millions Day. Select fans will win prizes courtesy of the Colorado Lottery.
Marlins have been a far better team on the road than they have been at home. In fact, they've won 14 of their last 18 on the road. At home, they're horrendous. They just had a 10-game homestand. They won once.
Yeah, and back in June earlier this year, they were 1-10 on their homestand.
24-39 at Dolphin Stadium. I think that's what they're calling it this week. 31-23 out on the road. One of the top marks in the National League. And some believe that it's a little tough getting up for playing in South Florida when there's, they're playing in a football stadium with 60,000 empty seats every night. A better baseball atmosphere out on the road. Swung on a miss. Buck's gone. 1 out.
That's an excuse. You're pitching in the big leagues. You're playing in the big leagues. J.C. Romero, who we mentioned earlier, was just signed today, getting loose. Yeah, the Florida Marlins are one of 3 teams to have a losing record at home and a winning record out on the road. Chicago White Sox are one. The New York Mets are another.
White Sox got themselves back to 500. They're still very much involved in that AL Central race. Curveball in there for a strike on Wise.
Yeah, with Detroit's loss tonight, they gain a half game. They're just 3.5 back.
Speaking of former White Sox, Dwayne Wise, he made that great catch in Burley's perfect game, right?
Yep, back on in 2009.
Thought it was done. That was an unbelievable grab. I mean,
and he just went in for defense in that game, late in that inning.
Nice move by Ozzie Guillen.
Smart move. It's when you make the manager look brilliant.
That would have been that you would register as a great catch had it happened in the 5th inning in a 4-4 game, much less the situation in which it did occur. If you all remember that grab, we'd show it to you, but we carry a lot of video. I don't think we're carrying that one. 1-2. But you can YouTube it.
Yeah, because it's out there.
One, two. Pulled into the seats, foul. So how do you play it if you're Jim Tracy? 9-1-2. Assuming that the Rockies can get out of this inning still trailing by a run. You have Todd Helton at your disposal, Mark Ellis, and the only other player available you're not going to use, Chris Iannetta, the backup catcher tonight. That's back up the middle. Look out.
Well, I hate to go down into the ball game without giving Todd a chance to swing the bat.
So do you do it initially, or do you do it with 1 out after the leadoff hitter?
Yeah, but if the leadoff hitter gets on, then you button him over, then you hit for Dexter. That's your next choice. Boy, I've seen a lot of these baseballs lately. Right back up the middle. Matt had to duck and get out of the way.
Well, if you do that, you compromise yourself defensively if you were to hit for Dexter, who's been swinging the bat well. So I don't know if you go there.
That's why I'd have to lead him off, I think.
If you tie up the game, you'd put Gonzalez in center field. Young would still be in the game. Smith's no longer an option. You're short an outfielder. You'd have to put Ellis in and run Chris Nelson out there.
Yeah, that's why I would just go ahead and lead off Todd, especially what he's done this year. 452 on base percentage, leading off an inning.
Yeah, that's the other piece of the equation. You'll look at Todd as a leadoff type hitter, but he has the highest on base percentage on the club.
Right, and that's why I want to start him off and put the pressure back on Leo Nunez.
Bilal's got work to do. 2 on, 1 out, and Meziga with a 1-0 count. The official word, pretty obvious on Mejiga, right lat strain. Ground ball, not hit all that hard. And Nelson should not have thrown that baseball. Good job by Giambi to come off and block the one-hop throw, and that's probably where a little bit of inexperience factors in for Nelson.
And watch the double clutch too from Chris when he gets the ball. Here we go. When he gets the ball, he has trouble getting it out of his glove. When you do that, don't throw it. He was all off balance, but Jason wisely coming off the bag, just knock it down, keep it in front.
Leo Nunez gets a rare at bat. This works out well for the Rockies. That's another reason not to force it. You got to know who's running also. Meziga, it's going to be hard to double if everything's clean.
Nunez first career at bat.
See where that step went? 2 more heaters, and I think
he'll be happy.
that'll be in the dugout. And you're right, Nunez will be happy the at-bat's over.
I mean, if you want a classic definition of stepping in the bucket, watch Nunez.
You know what? You gotta go put a tire behind that left leg. You got it in play. So we'll go to the bottom of the 9th inning. The Rockies down by a run, 4-3. Brought to you by Ecotech Institute in Denver, where you can make the world your workplace. Well, we've been locked in at 4-3 since John Buck hit a 2-run home run in the 4th inning. Kevin Millwood kept the Rockies in the ball game. The Rockies haven't done much offensively in terms of scoring runs, obviously, since Tulowitzki hit the 2-run home run in the 3rd. They've had opportunities. They are 2 for 14 tonight with runners in scoring position. So Jim Tracy's made his decision. He's going to lead off under a full moon, Mark Ellis. So Mark Ellis, who had a home run in the 1st inning last night and has been swinging the bat well, will lead off for the Rockies. 9-1-2. Leo Nunez with 32 saves continues on the mound, and the fastball at 94 is south of the knees. It's ball 1.
Ellis 1 for 3 as a Rocky pinch hitting this year.
Out of play. Who Wants Tacos? Fans, if you'd like to receive text message alerts when the Rockies score 7 or more for the Rockies Taco Special, text the keyword taco to 720-720. Feed your Rockies fever only at Taco Bell. 1-1 on Mark Ellis. Look out. Ellis at 348 on the trip.
Too bad this didn't graze the jersey. I've seen some guys wear baggy jerseys and they'll just clip it.
That's down the right field line. Stanton is going to get there.
Long run for Stanton down the line. Sort of slice it over there. The wall's coming up on you. Reach out, gather yourself.
It's a nicer play than you think.
Yeah, well, with where that wall is coming up too.
Yep. So Eric Young Jr. with one out. That's in there. That's 1 and 2. You know, if Young doesn't reach, you would assume Todd Helton would hit now for Fowler. This is off of Nunez's bare hand. Out at first. Oh, man. On a bang play, Andy Fletcher calls out Eric Young at first. And Leo Nunez trying to keep the training staff and Randy St. Clair in the dugout. He reached out with his bare hand.
Well, this what slowed it down enough for Emilio Bonifacio to come and get the ball. And even with the double clutch, a strong enough throw, and we'll get a better look. That was the right call.
Right call. Good call.
Andy Fletcher.
Andy Fletcher.
And how about the footwork also from Gabby Sanchez, because he shifted his foot to that outside part where the ball was going so he could reach for it and get a better stretch.
So Dexter will hit for himself with 2 outs and nobody on. On a reach for Carlos Gonzalez and maybe Troy Tulowitzki.
Big time changeup.
Varying thoughts on a 1 or 2 run game. Do you take a strike? Two and one.
I think it depends on who the closer is. If you think it's a guy that you're going to throw a lot of strikes. Remember back in game 163, they didn't do it against Trevor Hoffman.
That you understood. It was a two-run game and a guy who throws a lot of strikes. And that's in there 2-2. Nunez does not walk a lot of guys.
No, just 15 walks, 50 punch-outs. So if his walk total was up at 40 to 50 strikeouts, then I would say take a strike. But not with only 15 walks on the season, as many innings as he's thrown.
Two. High 3-2.
Everything's away for Dexter. Not going to give him an opportunity to pull one. They're kind of playing him shallow in left field.
And this is a blooper to center field. It's going to drop. Dexter galloping towards second. He's hung up. Bad throw to first. He's going to get to second. Fowler catches a break, and the Rockies are still alive.
Well, we might see a replay of what happened the other night in Cincinnati, making the third out on a base running play, but you get the bloop hit in the center field. And at first glance, it looked like the right play for Dexter. But then the play by Amezica just to get that ball back in, he realized he's going to be out there. And then the bad throw to Gabby Sanchez allowed him to get back to second base. What a break.
Carlos Gonzalez will try to tie it. It is pulled through, base hit. That'll work. And Gonzalez around first. He's heading to second. Cargo coming through. Tied up at 4. What a turn of events.
He gets a break by the bad throw, allowing Dexter to get into second. Then Carlos wastes no time in ripping this ball past Gabby Sanchez. And if it wasn't for the play of Mike Stanton out in right field to keep that ball in front of him, Carlos could end up at third.
What a wild deal. 2 outs, nobody on. A bloop single and a half. That gets Dexter to second base. And then Carlos Gonzalez, who's been scuffling a bit at the plate, 0 for 4 to that point in the ball game. And he pulls a double to right. And now Tulowitzki with a base hit could win it.
They're going to put him on.
Yep, they're going to put him on even though it's right on right. And they're going to pitch to Jason Giambi.
Well, you set up the force at any base. That's what you do. And that way, if you have to dive for a ball, you'll still have the short throw.
There are not many times, I'm sure, in Jason Giambi's memory where he can look back and say, yeah, they walked the guy in front of me to get to me. And now Jack McKeon is going to do the unconventional. And he's going to go and bring in Randy Choate. So that's why he did it.
Giambi is 0 for 4 in his career off Choate. So those are the numbers that Jack McKeon's looking at.
Well, you know what? I mean, you want to talk unconventional? Helton's got a lot more at-bats, obviously, than Giambi the last few weeks because Jason's been on the DL, and he's 3 for 9 against Choate. You could even up switch.
That's the beauty of baseball. So many things you can analyze and dissect.
unconventional is intentionally walking the guy in front to get to Giambi as Nunez is hot. And then it would similarly be unconventional pinch hit for Giambi. Crazy, crazy ninth inning. The winning run at second. 2 outs. Veteran left-hander Randy Choate will face Jason Giambi. Giambi getting the start tonight for Todd Helton. He's 1 for 4. He's done most of his damage this year when he's been in a starting role. This is like one of those late game pinch hitting spots that he's also very accustomed to. That's a foul ball. He's trying to hold up. Doesn't his bat, it may have hit him.
Yeah. Right off the knob, it looked like.
Pretty good swing there.
Like
that was a slider that kind of sat up.
I'd like to have that one back. It's the ones that you analyze and you sit there. I had it the whole way, and how did I foul it off?
Tommy Runnels, Jim Tracy looking on. Looking for that rare dramatic win. The Rockies have not provided many of, unfortunately, in 2011. Crowd of more than 32,000, everybody on their feet. 1-2 on Giambi. This ball drilled deep right field over Stanton's head. The Rockies will win it. It's gone. 3-run walk-off home run. The big man. So good to see that. It's been a while.
Well, he didn't miss that pitch.
first walk-off home run for the Rockies this year. Just their third walk-off win. Just their second walk-off win in regulation. Number 11 for Giambi, his 9th career walk-off winner. Our Jimmy John's delivery of the game, brought to you by Jimmy John's. A slider, and he drilled it. How much fun was that? Well, Alana Rizzo is going to ask the man of the moment.
All right, guys, thanks very much. Jason, we were just talking off camera. You hadn't had much success off a choke. You had a lot of success at the perfect time there. What did he give you?
You know, I'll definitely take it. You know, I was sitting on that slider, and I just missed one before, and lucky enough, I stayed back and got one.
I would imagine in your storied career you haven't had a guy in front of you been intentionally walked to get to you. How much motivation does that give a hitter?
Oh, always you want to try to come up big whenever, you know, Chulo or somebody's walked in front of you to try to help out the ball club. I'm just excited. You know, I helped out the ball club tonight, and that's a big win for us.
You mentioned the excitement. This team has not had much of this season. The flair for the dramatic hasn't been there. The walk-off win hasn't been there. That's got to feel good.
Oh, it feels great. Hopefully this is the start of something. Give ourselves a chance to play this last month hot and go from there.
And finally, I would imagine you couldn't have envisioned the bottom of the 9th inning to unfold that way. You're down to 2 outs. Dexter Fowler has a bloop and a half, really. He has the run down there, makes it to second on the throw. Cargo drives him in, ties up the game, and there you go.
I mean, that's the one thing about this year. We haven't got that break, and hopefully Dexter's the start of something where he gets in a rundown and beats it out, and first pitch Cargo hits, and there we go from there.
Fantastic job tonight. Enjoy this one.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, back to you.
All right, Alana, great moment for the Rockies. Thrills for everybody involved. The Rockies win it on Giambi's 3-run blast. Stick around, it'll be a raucous postgame show.